Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ladies Wrestling Showcase, a bi weekly show where myself, Melball Collins, along with the beautiful Astrid over there, pick a subject within ladies wrestling and we showcase it to you. This week, we have an incredible episode set up for you. But first, Astrid, how are we doing today?
I had a rough start to the day with a migraine, but it's feeling better. I'm glad in time to do this with you because I feel like two very good discussion points today that I'm glad we're hitting, and I'm really excited for them. But yeah, I'm glad we're going live. It's live today whenever we record it, so we're live and in color today, as you can see us. How are you doing, my lady?
Hey, I cannot complain. It may be a brisk winter here in Alberta, about minus 28 last I saw. I don't want to go outside there, neither do my chihuahuas, but I can't complain because it is nice and warm in here. Now, you mentioned we've got two topics that we want to discuss today. The first being an article that came out, I believe it was last week, that we felt the need to discuss. Astrid, you kind of have all the information on that. Let us hear it.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, Carl, for stopping by.
Thank
As you
you,
saying, wow,
Carl.
two beauties, best team to talk to about women's wrestling. Appreciate you, Carl. Let me go ahead here.
I mean,
Well,
you
I'm
can
not
look at or
gonna.
laugh at. I mean, we don't really care.
I'm not gonna name the publication because I don't want to get them any more clout than they have to. So if you know about
Mhm.
it, you know. If you don't, you don't. That's fine. They deleted the article by now. Unfortunately, I couldn't screenshot it on time, but I had the caption when they posted it. So I just saw I just saw this making rounds on Twitter, and I thought it was an interesting topic because it came from a guy more than anything. And like I mentioned on past episodes, like we usually get the guys discussing things when it comes to women's wrestling and women in their looks and everything. And
Mhm.
I'm at a point that why are you talking about it when you're not the demographic for it? You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
the caption or one of the quotes from the article was, can we stop excessively painting eyelids in pro wrestling? Could we stop using excessive amounts of eyeliner or fake eyelashes too? Going overboard on makeup subtracts from the natural beauty that many of your female wrestlers actually have. Let me just say that this was not the what I expected the article to be. Just thinking about women, their looks is like, why is it that the guys always comment about how the ladies look? Why?
I mean, for myself, I mean, you know. I'm not exactly secret about it, and our good friend in the chat, Carl, knows. I like me some Finn Balor, so I'm a little guilty of also, thirst
Mm-hmm.
trapping and sexualizing the male kind of
Mm-hmm.
wrestling aspect. But in regards to the makeup is something that it shouldn't be the primary concern. Although from watching watch-alongs, as soon as I see something that looks a little, we'll say, odd, I'm going to be the first person to comment on it. That being said, I think we are past the point in time where we should be focusing on exclusively the aesthetics within women's professional wrestling exclusively. Um, just because the women have made enough progress in every other aspect that it's almost like this article was looking for the one thing to negatively speak about.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that's clickbait for viewers, but I think we can actually afford to talk some good stuff about women's wrestling. What do you think, Astrid?
Yeah. I like how Carl, what as well we talk about Finn's, what in his pants.
It is
I'm not
Finn.
gonna I'm not gonna
Look
say
at
just
me, Dick Balor.
thank you to throw back to stopping by. I've been seeing you in a while. I hope you're doing well and your baby too. Um it just I keep thinking I was like I feel like you said it just like you kind of think of like women's wrestling right now. It's like what's the one thing I can pinpoint that I feel like it's not looking well or doing well? And
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I understand there's people like Rhonda, who's a different case or different topic for another day, that just looks like she just goes like this with her eyeshadow and she's done. You know? It just like she looks like a raccoon. That's a different
Mhm.
story,
Mhm.
right? But I get that you if you don't like how she looks, because I criticize that as a woman. I don't wear a lot of makeup. This is me, no makeup. Um, but just like I can see hers and just say that looks terrible, especially on TV when you can barely see her eyes because her eyeshadow is so dark. and like, they
Mhm.
just put it like, just concentrating on part of her face. But to like criticize like women in general and say, oh, I prefer the women how they used to look versus how they look now.
Mhm.
It's like,
Mhm.
first of all, not only do we have characters on screen, and some of the characters need to wear the makeup for that reason to enhance that character, but it
Mhm.
just there's a way that makes the woman feel good if they want to feel good. Plus, they're on camera. It's like you don't want to look a certain way on camera, and it doesn't look right in TV as well or on the device you're watching. So just like
Mhm.
I don't understand. I was like, if you're not the one wearing it, you're not the one performing. Why are you commenting about their looks like this? It's like
Mhm.
criticizing their appearance. It's like it's their choice, whatever they want to wear, what they want to put on. So what does it matter to you? And that's what I've been thinking about. I wanted
Mhm.
to highlight Throwback's comment here. Basic, actually, both of us at the moment. Do you see Mercedes and Sasha Banks coming back to WWE by Mania? She was home in Boston this weekend around War Games. I feel like at this point I don't know. I'm in between about it, so that's probably something we'll get on sometime later. That I
Mhm.
don't even know how to discuss it at this point because they had so many opportunities to bring them back, but they haven't.
Mhm.
So I don't have hope anymore. I don't have you any comments about that one, Mel.
As we keep getting past points where it would have been perfect for them to come back, or you start to lose a little bit of hope. That being said, I mean, you never know. I mean, with Sasha Banks having that new CBD kind of thing that she's doing with what's his name, Samurai Del Sol, I don't know if maybe that might be an issue with the wellness program within the WWE. I wouldn't mind. I mean, War Games already happened, didn't it? Didn't we watch that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
so probably not. Could they potentially be a surprise for Royal Rumble? Yeah,
Could
maybe,
be.
maybe. Getting back to the discussion about the eye makeup, it's
Mhm.
ironic actually that this we're talking about this today because yesterday I actually watched a Stardom match between it was a six woman tag match. It was 3-on-3, and oddly enough, one of the weapons because it was a hardcore match was paint. And by the end of the match, the girls had essentially painted on eyeshadow for
Mhm.
them. And I'm not going to lie, it did not take away from the match. It actually added to the match and then the hilariousness of it. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think that that the makeup and that kind of thing should be something that we're focusing on unless it's really atrocious. But then that being said, we shouldn't generalize it and be like, oh, women's wrestling shouldn't have this. Let's be honest about what the situation was. You didn't like Ronda Rousey's hair, or sorry, eye makeup. Ronda
Yeah.
Rousey shouldn't be wearing eye makeup. That's probably what the article should have been named and more
Exactly.
appropriately.
Yeah, I wanted to go look Carl's comment. Is it only one woman that I've always criticized that is Ronda? All others that are noticed too much. Their ring work speaks volumes to me. Yeah, it's just like
Mhm,
I feel like I
mhm,
said, it's just like we have people like Maxine Paler or even now with Sarah Logan and Kehei Valhalla. Like the makeup, the way they have it, it enhances their character and it makes sense the way they have it. But it's like the only one, like you said, that I would mention would be like Ronda would be that one case to be like, yeah, the makeup,
mhm,
somebody has to do something about it, or somebody the makeup team really hates her, or she does it by
mhm.
herself. I really don't know their circumstance. But it's just one of those that I know she can improve on hers, but there's people like you can see Shayna. Shayna barely wears any makeup, and she looks fine the way she is. If she
Mhm.
doesn't want to wear makeup, let her be. Like
Could you
I don't
imagine if she
understand
did?
why.
That'd be
Yeah,
terrifying.
and it's just like I don't understand why, first of all, why does it have to be a guy to point this out? It can't be a
Mhm,
lady. That's the first point. And then second is like, what do you care about their appearances in that way? They want to wear makeup, it's up to them. Sometimes they get confidence boosters to wear makeup. Sometimes it's good for TV and the way it looks on TV as well. A lot of
mhm,
them even say it's like, I only wear the makeup when I do the shows. After that, I don't wear it for the rest of the week because, I don't want to, which is
mhm,
what they want to do is what they have. If they want to do it, that's their choice more than anything. But I just don't understand why of everything you see with women's wrestling right now and the way we have progressed. And I know there's a lot more to do still, but to think of like the one thing you can talk about performance, you can talk about a characters like this one failed, this one wasn't it, and you talk about makeup of all things.
mhm,
It's like this is the one
mhm,
thing you point out, and it makes me wonder. It's like there's nothing else you could have criticized when it comes to like the character or the storytelling, the any sort of match you didn't like, which I understand as a viewer, you're reviewing it the way we are most of the time. but just why the makeup? It just like I feel like that feels so odd to touch on, and
Mhm.
just I started looking at it because a lot of the people that I follow in the community are females that were commenting, but it's just like, yeah, this is enough for me. Like, why are you talking about this? This is not a topic. But at the same time, I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to give traction to it, which is
Mhm.
another point to it as well. Because that's why I didn't want to mention the name. Like, if you know it, you know it. Because another thing is like we interact with it, and yeah, some other people find out about the article that way. But you're giving traction, you're giving clicks to the article as well. So you're in the way still helping. Uh, I don't want to say, but like the company itself and the website, by
Mhm.
and you're promoting it in a way, whether it's negative or positive, you're still getting them promotion and marketing, which is probably the way that they wanted to do it. They know what way to go, and they know how to take a topic and just twist it in a way that it will gain traction online. But like a quote like this one, this was the caption that was in the quote, to promote the article. So it's like they know what to say to stir the pot a little bit, and then people kind of go along with it without realizing it. And like whether you reply or you quote tweet it or you retweet it, people are still going to see it on your timeline, and there's other people that are not reading it, and that gives it traction, which is
Mhm.
unfortunate. You think about it this way. As Carl saying, twisted clickbait.
That's
Um,
exactly what I was thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just like it just make in those in a way without knowing it, we're also rewarding them for saying those words they said, which is
Mhm.
why I saw the caption, I bookmarked it so I can read it for today. I didn't read the article because I didn't want to give it more traction than it needed to be. But I don't know if you had any other more thoughts about them before we head on to your favorite part of the episode today.
No, no. With the makeup thing, it's always been something that I really dislike about women's wrestling. As someone like we both are about the same age and grew up around the same kind of eras of wrestling, we saw that transition where women went from being that kind of beauty queen, pageant girl kind of thing into what women's wrestling is today. And yeah, like people like back in the day, like Kelly, Tori Wilson, Stacy Keebler, they were classic beauties. But if you had something like that today, I mean, we do have still tons of that today. That's just kind of been altered to what it is that is modern and trendy and stuff. But yeah, I don't like it that it's being a focus, but it's understandable because if you don't have anything nice to say about the good stuff happening, crap on the bad stuff, I guess, right?
Mhm.
So, if you don't have anything else to say about this, Astrid, I would love to move on to our second topic today, something I'm very excited about talking with you. And that is our top 5 influential women to us as individuals. Astrid and I have not talked about this at all. We have kept this completely secret from each other. So, we don't know who each other's picks are. We're kind of going to be having a live reaction with you, where it's just as much of a surprise to myself or Astrid as it is to the rest of you. I'm super excited with this. Astrid, I want you to go first. Please tell me one of your picks for the most influential women in wrestling for you.
I'm gonna say the first two are definitely like my top two, but the other
Mhm.
three are in no particular order. So there's not one better than the other one, it's just the way they
For
influence me.
sure.
And I'm gonna say before I start though, this was super hard for me to pick because I kept thinking, oh, I like this one, but did she influence me though? That was my question
Mhm.
when I was telling
Mhm.
myself about it, and I kept going. It's like, okay, I like this one, but has she influenced me in any way when it comes to like women's wrestling or wrestling altogether? And it made me so much harder for me to like pinpoint somebody. Oh, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Peter.
Tom probably rated us on YouTube, but I can't really see it because I'm doing this too. Thank you, Tom. Um, for example, the one that I have, and this is probably not going to surprise to know people that I watched NXT before or taking over as well. Um, hey, Ed.
Oh, hi, Ed.
Oh, oh my God. No, I can't with you, Carl. And Mickey has to be number one. Oh,
No spoilers, girl.
my no, my last one. Well, no, I don't want to say last one, but my fifth one. To put it from the bottom up, I'll go. Will be Roxanne Perez. That will be no surprise to a lot of people. I haven't been watching her for that long, to be honest. So I'm still kind of new to her, but I feel like in the little time that I've been watching her, I've been really influenced by what she's done. Thank you everybody for coming. We appreciate you guys for stopping by. Thank you, Tom, for the raid from YouTube. For those of you that don't know, this is Mel and I'm Astrid. We're doing a next episode of Ladies Wrestling Showcase. we're just talking about our influences in women's wrestling. And so you have Tom, hey, I tried to send a raid, but apparently need privilege, just so I had dropped the link. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Um, so yeah, for those that have seen NXT before, even taking over when I'm doing it with Parrish or with Ed, I talk a
Mhm.
lot about Roxanne first because she's Puerto Rican. She's one of the few Puerto Rican female wrestlers I've been able to watch and see how much she has grown lately. I've watched her, and I started watching her more when she was in Ring of Honor, and when she won the Ring of Honor Women's title, which was very exciting for me seeing two Latinas go against each other. It was
Mhm.
incredible. Uh, Not only that, but just think of her height. For those of you that don't know, I'm really, really, really tiny. So it's nice to see somebody as tiny as me be able to wrestle the way she does because it makes you think like, oh, if she can do it, I can definitely do it. And you can see that influence of like I can relate to her in those two ways. And just I keep cheering for like any of my Latinas because I keep thinking what minorities in this. So it's nice to see them being showcased, and she's been showcased so well in NXT so far. And sorry, Ed, but I hope she's the one that dethrones Mandy because I feel like she deserves it. And I really want her to have that big like victory over Mandy when she does. So that's what I'm
No,
always looking forward to with Roxanne and what she does next. Yeah, but that's my one of my. What's your first one? I guess.
that's exciting. I love her. She's so adorable. And I actually had the privilege of the first couple of matches that I've ever seen hers was before she actually made the move over to the WWE. And I was like, what? No, now I can't watch you regularly. That was an
Mm-hmm.
amazing pick, Astrid. I'm so happy. And like, yes, I can relate. We're both very small. I think I'm a little bit taller than you though, but like
You are.
inches.
Yeah.
Inches.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, if you were ready, my dear, I have my number 5 pick for you. It might be a little like you might hear it and be like, yeah, I can see this. This girl was a girl I actually I knew she was wrestling before I started watching her regularly. I didn't catch her until she started in Impact, or at the time TNA. She was with WCW beforehand. My number 5 pick was the late great Daphne. Daphne has always been a favorite of mine, the Scream Queen. Her style, just she looked so different, even in the WCW time, from all of the Stacy Keeblers, the Tori Wilsons. You know, at that time, the girls were all the blondes, the models, the beautiful, the tall. You know, that was not what this girl was at any point in time of her adolescency. I was the dark hair, the dark lip, the fishnets, the screaming. You know, I got a kendo stick. I had all of that. But I did get really into her career when she came onto the Impact scene with her unique style of wrestling, her unique gear. You know, she got those tattoos. Just everything about her was so unique and iconic. And she definitely heavily inspired, along with another girl on my list, my personal style as I kind of went through high school. She was partially responsible for me wearing like the skater boy outfit of like the skate shoes, the fishnets, and the like shorts or like short skirts, stuff like that. Um, yeah, she was absolutely one of the most unique, fun, and I would say almost one of the first, besides Luna maybe and Sherry, who introduced that grungy kind of rockish, edgy style to professional wrestling. And it was one of my no, I did not have the privilege of dressing up as Daphne. However, I mean, you know, never say never, right? Now I have some inspiration. Maybe we'll see a Daphne showing up here in the Ladies Wrestling Showcase for a Halloween special next year. Ooh.
Oh.
And that being said, I did want to just quickly say if anybody is struggling with any kind of self harm, suicide, or crisis, in America, there is a number you can call. It's 988. They're 24 hours available. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to call them. In Canada, they also have a hotline open 24 hours. It's 1 833 456 4566. Please give them a call. We want to hear your story. We would rather listen to your story than listen to your obituary. So moving on from that, Astrid, let's go into your next choice because I'm having so much fun with this.
Yeah. There's no way I couldn't do a top five without one of the four horsewomen. and I don't know if you probably guess who it is, but for this one, I think she influenced me in the way of like whenever I thought of the Four Horsewomen back when I was watching NXT, she's the one that I thought of and was like, this one's not gonna last long at all. The way I started watching her and the way she was presented in NXT, it was one of those that I'm like, I hope she does better than what she's doing now. And to think of like who she is now and the way she talks, not only does she bring herself and she highlights herself in such a way, but she highlights her opponents in such a way as well that just she makes you pay attention. And I feel like even recently, whenever she is part of the women's division, I feel like it gets highlighted in a different way, and you notice it when she's there on screen versus when she was absent. It wasn't the same. So I feel like she's one of those people, like as my friend Parrish would like to say, organically and naturally she came onto the scene, and people like basically just had that energy with her, and they drew themselves to her in a way that she was able to put herself up in such a way that nobody can deny her growth, and that is none other than the man Becky Lynch. And it's like Becky has done so well from the lady dancing her Irish dance and the way she came on screen in NXT to what she's doing now as the man. And I feel like she highlights her opponents in her promos, in her matches. And it's just like I feel like whoever she's going against, it feels important in a way, whether it's with a championship or not, she does it. And I feel like ever since she won the SmackDown Women's title, I knew that was her moment to like rise up. So I was really happy for her when that moment came up, and like the storytelling between her and Bianca has been incredible. So I'm definitely excited for her and Bailey coming up too, because we never really had them in such a way. So I'm very excited for their feud coming up as well. So I'm just looking forward to anything she does at this point, because I feel like she's been unstoppable. I don't know if they just give her more creative freedom than the rest of the girls, because it definitely shows like she's done something differently on screen than the rest of them. But I just love the way she just does everything on screen, to be honest, at this point.
Mhm. I have to agree. The evolution that she has come on from as we had mentioned in our previous show with Kayla, the Irish dancing into the evolution of the steampunk, into the evolution of the man. Arguably, I would almost say I challenge someone to tell me someone who's drastically changed that much in their career to go from being, as you had mentioned, the person who maybe might not make it out of there to being probably the most sought after person within the company. Very, very interesting there. Uh-oh, what did Ed say there? I saw
No,
my
he's
name.
introducing
What
us
did he say?
to Dax. And just for the viewers that don't know and just came
Oh,
from
perfect.
Tom's stream,
Thank you,
uh,
Ed.
you know, with our podcast, we're usually between live and pre-recorded in our podcast, and we are affiliated to Backbreaker Media as well. So we see our replays there
Mhm.
on Tuesdays, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. We talk about women's wrestling, because I feel like a lot of women don't cover, or we don't see a lot of women talking about women's wrestling. We see the guys talking about it. So we try to take a topic, and obviously, as anything that comes up, and we get inspired by. We do it bi-weekly, so we switch between being live and pre-recorded. So this is the second live show that we have, and then on
Mhm.
Sundays, we release it as a podcast, so you can watch it later if you want on Spotify or your favorite podcast platforms. But thank you, Ed, for the introduction. And aside from that, Mel does her Stardom and NJPW coverage. So if you follow her on Twitter, you can see and go to her and Andre's channel. They do a lot of videos, a lot more than I do. I don't know how they do it at this point. But yeah, they are a lot more active on YouTube than I am, because they give you a lot of great content. So
We
you
have
can
a
follow Mel for that.
lot of videos because this Mel Ball watches a crap ton of wrestling.
Yeah,
Oh
very true.
yeah, we for NJPW and Stardom right now, we're actually uploading 3 to 4 times a week just because there's 3 major tournaments happening and I got to keep up with all of them. I also even have like 2 more shows to catch up on tonight for another recording that Andre and I are doing tomorrow. So that's a lot of fun going in here. So Astrid, if you don't have anything else to add, I would love to share with you my number 4, which might not surprise you. She is a little older though. This one, she actually started wrestling with the Fabulous Moolah in 1980. Was when she was actually in the school. She has wrestled in Japan. She has wrestled in the US. She has been a wrestler. She has been a champion. She has been a manager. I am talking about the one, the only Sherry Martel. Sensational Sherry, as some have called her, Scary Sherry, depending on how much she's yelling at you. This woman, they do not make managers like this anymore. Sherry Martel, to me, I mean, I loved her wrestling. She was very, very good at what she did, but her managing was what really made her unique and stood out to me. The just because of her wrestling background, she had no problem whatsoever getting out there and getting in with the boys. She would take bumps, she would give hits, she would give bumps, she would do so much. I think my favorite promo on the face of the planet is the one that her and Macho King did, where they're just screaming at each other. And goodness bless them, I know there was just probably a lot of drugs involved in that scene at that time, but it's that promo is iconic to me because I can't really think of another manager since then, maybe besides Paul Heyman, but like for women, I haven't thought of one who is that excited about her partner or about the man that she was managing, or the woman or whoever they're managing. She really took things from like a 0 to a 10 just instantaneously, and all she had to do was just be there because her presence was just so chaotic. Her style always evolved with the time. You know, she was 80s fabulous with the hair and the stuff on the side of her face and the shoulder pads and the dangly things everywhere. And in the 90s, you know, she really, you know, sexied up herself. You know, she was a part of the Shawn Michaels sexy boy thing. She sang a song initially, like, you know, she went from that 80s vixen into that, you know, 90s cat. And then, you know, she continued to evolve throughout her career. From the moment I saw her in the 90s to the moment she did pass, you know, she had such great genetics. The woman looked timeless. She barely looked like she aged. Her style was also one of my absolute favorite things because of that evolution. Again, I didn't watch a lot of her WCW stuff, but I have seen some of the footage of it. It wasn't to me as exciting as her stuff in the WWE and her stuff with like Macho King and all that. But yeah, that she's a former women's champion, Hall of Famer. Another amazing woman. Yes, Elizabeth. The feud between Martel and Elizabeth with Macho King too. I just loved it. So great. Astrid, what do you think of Sherry Martel? Do you have any memories of her?
Yeah, the moment you said her name, all I could think about her and Kurt Angle singing the theme song. And just that's one of the things that I would never be able to unsee from that. Yeah, that was iconic. But it's just like you said, that there's nobody really like her at this point. I think I don't want to say closest, but like I would say similar in a way will be like Zelina Vega, because I feel like ever since she came up with Andrade in NXT, the way she's like, you can do this, and then she was gonna point at him like, you can do this, and she's always like getting in on the action and doing what she can when the referee wasn't looking to help him out as well. And I feel like it was one of those few moments that the manager herself and her, they had a really good chemistry, and they were not together. They're like not in a relationship because they're just coworkers and friends. So I think it was always interesting because a lot of people kind of linked them as they were dating, but they were not. So I thought it was always interesting. Like that's one of the few times that the manager herself is not dating or married the guy, but she is having such a great chemistry with him that people think that they are as well. But it just shows you how well they work together. And that's a parent that I love. I miss them together so much. I wish they were back together. Maybe sometime in the future, but I do miss them having this together because for those of you that didn't watch the NXT parts of Andrade with Zelina and the way she came about, I remember just thinking when I was watching NXT, I could see her in the crowd, and I kept thinking, "Oh my God, they're gonna put her with him eventually," because of the signs. So I thought that was pretty awesome as well. As Sherry ran the Gambit though, and she was with the Harlem WCW as well. But yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah, she was with Booker when he dropped the infamous N word on TV. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I don't want to say she's the closest, but I think she's kind of similar in a way to that, and that's the most similar I've seen to Sherry on screen has been to me Zelina, because I know people like Scarlett had she's the manager, but you don't see her getting involved as much. I feel like Zelina does it more often, so I feel
And
like
that
she's the
doesn't
one that
surprise me. That it
Yeah.
really disappoints me because I know how much experience and talent that Scarlett does have. She would actually be, and also Rhea Ripley, with Judge, is it Judgment
Yeah.
Day? Yeah,
Hmm.
the three of them are really starting to revolutionize
Yeah.
and bring back that strong woman manager kind of role. I would just like to hear them be a lot more vocal. Selena tries though,
Hmm.
for how
Yeah.
little she is. She tries very, very hard.
Hmm.
But I would like to see them be a little bit more vocal. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They're very comparable.
Yeah.
So moving on from here, Astrid, I'm ready for your next lady.
There's another one that I don't think will surprise a lot of people that have known me for a while. This one, she means a lot to me, not only in the wrestling aspect, but the fact that she's also Latina, Puerto Rican, to be more specific. But also because I feel like with her, it was one of those moments that she doesn't shy away from talking about her mental health
Mhm.
and the way she grew up with her mental health issues. And it's just one of those things that you don't hear people talking about that too often. And I'm glad she has been vocal about it in and out of the ring. And not only that, but it just the way she has embraced being a nerd and a geek. I feel like it's one of those things that I really enjoyed because a lot of people don't think about it when it's TV. But it's like I'm a bookworm. I love to read. I love to listen to audiobooks when I'm out watching wrestling. And then I love video games here and there. And I love like reading comic books and reading about Marvel and watching the movies and all that stuff. So it's just one of those things that I like a little bit of everything. So it was, I think, the first time that I actually saw a girl that was more nerdy, and she wasn't portrayed like a supermodel in any type of way. I felt like the way she was portrayed on TV was different. So for those of you that don't know, that will be none other than AJ Lee herself. Um, I just love watching her perform and the way she was on TV. I feel like she grew a lot. I've been watching her in the season 3 of NXT, and she was just portrayed of that like little tiny nerd girl, and I love seeing her because she's tiny as well. I read her book too, and I really loved it. Reading about her journey and her mental health, and the way she just doesn't stop talking about it. And even now, she has written comic books. She has directed other things too, and she's done so much outside of wrestling that people don't talk about often because it's not involved in wrestling. But I feel like if you haven't, you really should follow her what she's done outside of wrestling after WWE. And as Ed is saying, that's I am covering Roxanne's kayfabe mom, AJ Lee. I just love seeing the relationship that she has with them and with Indy on Twitter. She's like, "Oh, look, I'm proud of my kids," because they were really influenced by her as well. So it's pretty awesome to just see her and how she has already influenced a new generation of girls, and they'll keep influencing others as well. But yeah, just having her, like, she's half Puerto Rican, I believe, but having a Latina in there as well, and her saying that in her book and mentioning it and mentioning it, her journey in WWE and in wrestling, it was incredible to read that book. So I really loved it. But and even watching like Fighting with My Family, if you haven't watched the movie, I just like seeing her character portrayed in there as well. So I thought that was really cool watching it from that point of view. Um, but yeah, and not only that, but like Zelina herself playing AJ Lee as well. So that was another point to it too. But yeah, that's my third one.
I love AJ Lee, and I loved her for the same reasons that she was a very unique looking girl, but also she had that nerdy aspect that really made, when you like those nerdy things too, it's like, hey, the pretty one likes it, I can like it too. Makes you feel good. I remember she actually cut, I think, my favorite promo on the Bella twins. And if you know which one I'm talking about, you just know.
Yeah,
That infamous comment, I love bringing it up. I love reminding people of it also.
yeah.
So, if you are ready, my friend, I am going to move on to my next choice. And it is going to not be a surprise to the Canadians here. She is a local hero. She did start here. She has been around for a hot minute. And when I say hot minute, I mean like she's been around. She's a veteran. I am talking about none other than Natalia Neidhart, the Queen of Hearts. She grew up not too far away from me. I'm in Edmonton. Calgary is about 3.5, 4 hours south of me, depending on if you're going the speed limit. I really, my favorite thing about her was that she came in right around the time where I was graduating from high school. So this was a time where Tristratus, Lita, Tori Wilson, these were the girls that you kind of had on there. when you brought in Natalia's always been a girl who I think the best word to use is thick. Because she was very muscular at that time. She always has been throughout her entire career. But when she first came onto the scene, it wasn't something that was really seen except for maybe China. And Beth Phoenix, I can't remember. I think Beth Phoenix ended up coming a little bit after her. So yeah, she was kind of like, for me, a really like sweet, almost Canadian superhero for me to start watching, because yeah, she might have been, the pretty blonde that all the other girls were, but she was jacked. She had in-ring experience that rivaled some of the men who she was, kind of working with. And she wasn't even wrestling, the men so much, but she could really take them if she needed to. This was still a time where like the women's matches were like starting to get away from the evening gown and bra and panty stuff, but I'm pretty sure that she got subjected to a few of them. I know the costume contests were something she definitely was subjected to. I considered her a prequel, a get ready with us, if you will, for the women's division of today, where she was essentially, I feel, the foundation or the ground laying for women starting to wrestle the way that they are today. She's got a crazy moveset, that one. Lots of submissions, obviously Heart Dungeon, trained there. She gracefully evolved from one era of wrestling to the next. She has remained, maybe not highly relevant, but relevant wherever that she does show up. I've always found her style to be very classy, very beautiful, very, I don't want to say bougie and make it sound bad, but she is pretty bougie. And there's nothing wrong with that. She looks gorgeous. I mean, her cats are adorable too. So, but I also loved how with that beauty and just grace that she has, she also has that obvious goofy factor that a lot of professional wrestlers have to have. But I love that she's not afraid to hide it. Most recently, I feel her matches that she has had against Charlotte have stood out the most to me, just because those are the matches where she does get to show off a little bit more. The only thing I'll say that I'm not the biggest fan of is that she's not a very good bad guy. She's not a very good heel. I like seeing her as a face. I like seeing her as a good guy, because it just, when she tries to be mean, it's not believable. And I think that's because she's Canadian. What do you think about Natty?
I think it's funny because I haven't liked Natty the way you have. Yeah, we're definitely opposites on that one, but she's one of my mom's favorites no matter what happens. Like if I showed her when she was doing the women's tag team championship with Tamina, I said, "Look, Mom, Natalia's on and the WrestleMania card." My mom's like, "What? She's wrestling?" So she was always excited, but I want to say she always made me laugh watching Total Divas, because she's a terrible dancer and she tries so hard, but she's terrible at it. But she's made me laugh in those moments when I've seen her. And but yeah, like you said, one thing that I always notice with her is just like she tries when she's being a heel, but it doesn't come off that well. Like she's trying too hard, and I feel bad that she is. So I really feel bad in that. And she hasn't been a favorite of mine, but at the same time, I credit her in the aspect that not only has she been a constant in the division because she's been there for so long, but she has also helped train a lot of the ladies backstage. So it's like, even if I don't like her, she has influenced that people that I like and has helped them improve. So I gotta give her credit for being one of the few people that has been good, like, a good person, like on screen, but off screen she does work with the ladies to improve them as well. And I know she probably does help TJ with everything he's been working with the ladies, so far improving the women's division WWE. So I give her credit in that aspect of like she's going above and beyond, not only to help the present but the future of the women's division. And it's something you can't really take away from her, to be honest.
100%. Love that Queen of Hearts.
And this one's for you.
Yes, she has, Carl. Jenny has taken away a lot of Natty's innocence. Although, if you follow Natty on Instagram, I mean, the pictures, yeah, there's a lot of boobage there. But you go further down, ladies, there's makeup stuff, there's jewelry, there are cats, there are shoes. Just to point out, there are shoes. So Astrid, we are getting down into the final two. Give it to me. Give me your number two, girl.
I mean, I know this one's not gonna surprise you at all. It's, it's fine. I already mentioned her a few times, so you probably get the clue. But my number two is very special to me. I've seen her wrestle, I think since 2010 or 11. I remember going back to Impact and watching her wrestle, and I could I could relate to her right away, even though I knew that her character wasn't really part of her persona or like who she is
Mhm.
at the moment. But watching her not only because she's very tiny as well, she's mighty, she's small but fierce. But I love also like similar to AJ that she has also giving us that part of like her geekiness and her nerdiness and everything she likes, she highlights it, and I really like that about her because she's not afraid to show who she really is and what she's interested in. And even though we haven't seen a lot of her wrestling in WWE, unfortunately, but I feel like she has done great with what she's done and what she's given, and that's none other than La Muñeca Selena Vega, aka Tia Trinidad. Um, I've been watching her since I was like Rosita and Sarita in Impact before, and even watching her when she was with Andrade, and even now with Legado. I was torn about having her legato because I liked it the way it was, but at the same time, I feel like it's been great to have her as a voice for them because, like, when she talks, you really pay attention to her and what she's saying. She really is that center of attention. She, takes that spotlight when it's given to her and she takes advantage of it. Yeah, I wish we would have seen her wrestle more often. That's the only thing I haven't seen much of her in WWE. But so far, she won the Queen's Crown, won the first one that happened. She was one of the women's tag team champions as well. I'm hoping I still have hope one day she'll become champion, hopefully for myself. I'll get to see that. And like I said, she was at that moment of when she was in Fighting with My Family, portraying AJ Lee herself as well. And I think she really did a great job with it too. And she's one of those people like she likes like Naruto and all this stuff that you like. It seems so random for her. And all those like video games, her Twitch streams. So it's always nice to watch her embrace what she likes. And she's also Puerto Rican as well. So I love that about her too. I get to see myself in her, not only being Puerto Rican, but be tiny too. But yeah, that's my favorite, one of my favorite ones.
Very, very good choice. I actually was going with somebody else when you started saying that, but then as soon as you said the Rosita and Sarita, I'm like, no, no, that is not who I thought that was. Yes, Selena Vega. I love following her on Instagram. Every day she's posting something just wild. And she has such a variety of content too. She's got the video gaming stuff. She's got her modeling stuff. She'll post pictures of her workouts and the things she's doing. I really enjoy following her. She seems like a very unique and just fun, genuine human being. Very, very good choice. I do hope also one day that we do see her potentially in that championship kind of window. There's no reason why she couldn't. And I also agree. I do feel she's added from what I've seen of the clips because I don't watch WWE or AEW regularly. From what I've seen of the clips on Instagram, she really is essentially not the glue that pulls Legato's group together, but she almost adds a level of legitimacy to them
Mhm.
that they weren't quite able to get without her. And I really am enjoying the things again that I am seeing on the clips, at least of WWE of them. So, my dear, are you ready for my number two? I've sort of mentioned her a little bit. We've mentioned her also on our last show, Ladies Wrestling Showcase, where we talked about the Four Horsewomen briefly. This woman got me in trouble because I dressed up like her to my high school dance. And when I tell you that I dressed up as Lita, going to a Catholic high school for a Halloween costume contest, you can understand why I got in trouble. um, Lita. I love her. She came out in a time of that era where, again, all the women were very cookie cutter. They looked kind of the same. What drew me to her was again her unique look. She had that
Mhm.
fire red hair. She had that half sleeve tattoo. She was wearing, the skimpy little crop top with her flame thong hyped up over her hip bones and her sagging in her pants. Everything about her, I was just like, my parents would hate me looking like that. I love it. I'm going to do this. And I did. She influenced so much of my personal style in high school. In combination with her and Daphne, I looked like just like a grunge child for being such a nerdy looking librarian thing. What I really enjoyed about her wrestling, though, is that she added this kind of flair to it that a lot of other women at that time weren't doing. And I feel that's why her bouts with Trish Stratus at that time were considered to be so legendary. Because you had Trish Stratus, who was wrestling, I don't want to say very simply, but she was wrestling very North American esque. Whereas Lita had that kind of lucha flair to it and almost I don't want to say a strong style, but she did have a certain amount of aggression to her that not a lot of women had at that time. I suspect maybe because of her ECW days, maybe, I don't know. Her alliance with the Hardy Boys was something that I absolutely loved because at that time I was all about the tight tops and the baggy pants and the wrist things and the, yeah, you can't tell me what to do, mom. Yeah, she was amazing. I won't hesitate to say though that I hated. In case you didn't get that, I hated the angle she did with Edge and the whole thing that with the love triangle with Matt Hardy. Though that was something that first of all, just don't cheat on your partner. I mean, especially when you work in the same company, dum dum. They're gonna find the heck out. But second of all, don't play it so sensationally into the work. It's just I don't feel that helped anyone's career at any point, and I don't want to see the live sex anything in the comments because that didn't help anything. That made it worse. But I felt after that point that was almost like a downward spiral for her because I just don't feel that her career. Yes, never cheat. It's just not fun, especially so publicly. But yeah, I did feel like it was a downward spiral for her in her career because after that point, no one really wanted to care about her because at that point, people have had that time to make that moral judgment on you, and now they don't like you. We've seen this play out into modern wrestling with other wrestlers making poor choices and it being brought to light and them, losing jobs or employment over it. I really do hope that she does have an opportunity to have another match in the WWE to, for me, undo what was her retirement match against Trish. I didn't feel that this match was even like on a top 5 of their kind of like bouts that they've had together. We could go back, 5 or 10 more years and have seen something much better come from them. But Lita actually was good at getting back to the positive side of this. Lita was actually the person who who inspired me to want to try to wrestle and had me actually start looking into wrestling. I did have the privilege of doing a mini camp that was offered probably, I want to say about 20 years ago at the university I was going to, and it was not a good experience. It was run by men. It was dominated by men. I was the only girl in the whole thing. The first thing they did before warming me up was teach me how to take a bump. And when I regained my ability to breathe, I left and cried. It was not a fun experience, but she was the person who inspired me to want to wrestle and subsequently to look into other areas of wrestling. When she left, that was when TNA came out, which came into Impact. And this was when I started to hear about other companies like NWA and then subsequently Ring of Honor. She was such an amazing wrestler at that time. And again, just like Trish Stratus, unfortunately, I don't think that if she did come back to wrestle the women of today, that she'd be able to kind of hang with them. But for her time, I feel that she was, one of the best kind of renegade wrestlers that the WWE did have at that time. Astrid, what did you think of Lita?
I was going to say, if you haven't watched it, she had, at least in my opinion, a really good match with Becky Lynch at one of the Saudi Arabia shows not so long ago. So I definitely want to watch it. That happened recently. I forgot what year. I'm terrible with numbers. But
relatable.
Yeah, but altogether, I remember watching with the storyline happen with Edge, And at the time, I liked it because I kept thinking, oh, there's a woman involved in this. And I feel like that didn't
Mhm.
happen often at the time. So that's why I liked having her there because her presence was something you couldn't miss there.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, I was a Cena fan. So I was like happy of the way it was going. But
Mhm.
like years later, as you mature and you learn things, I realized it's like, this woman was being slut shamed on TV on a weekly basis. Like I didn't like that part of
Mhm.
it, and I wish that would have been a little bit different. And like you mentioned, and not only that, but her last like appearance in WWE before the Becky Lynch match was the Crime Time taking her clothes from her locker room and throwing it away and giving it to people in the audience. And I was like, wow, this is interesting to think about because I kept thinking, oh, the way Trish left winning a championship on her last match versus Lita's last appearance at that time was her clothes being given away and thrown over to the fans by Crime
Mhm.
Time. I was like, well, that's interesting how different that turns out for both of them. So I was always hoping she would come back and have kind of like be able to like redeem herself in that way with being like having a good match for her last match in WWE. So I'm glad she
Mhm.
had that match with Becky Lynch for that reason because I feel like that was a lot better way to wrap up her career there
Mhm.
rather than the way it was before.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just I kept like comparing her and Trish and like how the careers went because of that too. But I also got drawn to her like you did because I liked how she was different from the other girls. I'm up, I like my alternative punk rock music. So watching her, I feel like I was watching that punk girl on the screen. And I really love seeing that because I feel like I could kind of like I feel like I have more energy towards her than I had towards Trish. And like I like Trish, but I feel like I like Lita because of that more. And I could
Mhm.
relate to more like the way she was having like her color, like the red color and her outfits and like the wristbands and everything, the way she looked different, and I love that about her. That it wasn't just like a regular like model looking blonde girl, and I like that she
Mhm.
looked different, especially for that moment in WWE. And I feel like she was great in the ring. Like you said, I like her influence of like having the lucha style and aspect to it when she wrestled as well. So it was definitely different from what Trish was bringing to the table at that time. So I really liked her a lot for that reason because she was so different, and I love seeing somebody that was different from all the other girls. And it was one of those like you could easily like pinpoint her from the rest of the girls as well, along with Trish because of it and their experience too as a whole overall. I love watching them. So like I said, I know a lot of people don't watch these other radio shows. I understand why, but if you haven't, definitely check out her match with Becky. I feel like they did very well with the promos and everything that lead up to it. And I hope that's definitely not the last time we see her. I'm hoping that she mixes it up with some of the girls here because I feel like, especially with the horsewomen, she can definitely bring the best out of them, and they can do the same with her as well. Um, Thank you, Doc Knight, right? I think I'm reading it that right. I want to say this has been really interesting and this is a detailed insight into the female wrestlers and the impacts embedded in you both. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
this is the. I love how when Mel brought up this idea, I thought it was very cool because, like I said, it's a good way to talk about ourselves without being
Mhm.
too self-centered, and we're not really reviewing wrestling like we do on a weekly basis. So that's always nice to have a topic like this.
Mhm.
Let's go to my number one next. Okay.
Yeah. And look at the variety that we have had in the show
Yeah.
so far. We've got a couple old ones, a couple new ones. It's incredible to see how wrestling, even Sherry was around before I was even.
Mhm. I
Had
think
a
you cut
glitch.
off there for me, Mel. Yeah, I don't know if it was me or you. Sorry. I was like, what happened?
I disappeared and I was like, what happened?
Yeah, I thought it was me.
So,
That's
my
what I was
friend, what
waiting.
is your number one influential lady? Oh, hi,
Uh,
Bobby.
Hi, Bobby. Thank you for stopping by. For me, this is another one that's not really going to shock a lot of people. I loved her influence on me because, like I said, she was one of those that, especially at the time she came on, watching her starting from NXT and how different she looked and how she embraced um, being that punk rock girl and how she looked. Um, I just loved seeing her. I was drawn to her for the moment I saw her in NXT, and I kept watching her ever since. I met her twice. One of them I would have mentioned because of reasons you'll see later. I'll probably post it later so it's easy for everybody to understand because I don't want to mention it on it. Um, but I met her when she was absent from TV, and I even told her like I'm hoping for you to return soon. And she was like so smiling and happy. I'm guessing because she knew she was coming back soon. At the moment when I saw her, she's always been nice to me the twice, the 2 times I've seen her already. Um, and the way she came back, I was really upset with everything, how it turned out. But now she was able to redeem herself, and I'm glad. For those of you that don't know her, it's Paige Akiri Soraya Knight. She's definitely one of my top favorite ones. So I definitely have to put her number one because I feel like she made me want to keep watching women's wrestling in NXT with the way she was being portrayed. And like I said earlier, if you haven't seen Fighting with My Family, it's just incredible to see her journey and how she has turned out in WWE and the work she had to put in to get in there too. Yeah, I loved having her on TV. And at the moment when I saw her, and I was telling her, I can't wait for you to return because I'm waiting for you to come back soon. And she came back and a couple weeks later with Mandy and Sonia. And I was really upset that I was short lived because I really loved watching her. And I really cried when I saw her quote unquote retirement speech. Let's put it like that. It just I kept thinking she loves this business so much and literally grew up into it. And just think that her passion for it, you didn't want it to die the way it did. And then now when she got cleared to return, I was so excited. I cried when she returned. I screamed. My family thought something happened to me. They were concerned for my well-being because of how loud I was screaming. But I cried and I was shaking. I said, she's returning after so long. And mom was like, "Well, what the heck? Are you okay?" I think so. Um, but I loved watching her journey returning. I think if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I keep thinking today's a different date, but yeah, tonight during Rampage, they're gonna give, I guess, some behind the scenes look into Soraya's return to the ring. Um, yeah, I love how emotional she was during her entrance too. You can tell how much she loves doing this and how she wanted to keep going, and she tried as much as she could to return, and I'm glad she did. But yeah, I love that woman so much. Um, I even told my sisters like I like how she combined my love for music and punk rock and alternative music and my love for wrestling as well. So yeah, she's one of those I love to see. And I met her before. There was a show in Orlando, and it was a Raw to be specific that I remember. And for some reason, I knew I was going to the bathroom, and I noticed there was a table that said NXT on it, and I was super excited because I was watching NXT at the moment. And then when they told me there's a meet and greet, and I'm like, let's see how this goes. I was waiting and I was like, oh, how much is it? It's like, oh, it's free. I'm like, win-win for me, NXT and free. You got me here. Um, and then when I see the table, I have none other than Sami Zayn. I have the Ascension here. I had Corey Graves at the moment, and then at the last part, I had none other than Paige. And I was able to take a picture with her in the NXT Championship at the moment. And you know what happened with that afterwards? That's a different story. But yeah, I took a picture with that NXT Women's Championship at the time. But yeah, I was an experience that I will not forget. And I remember how tiny I was because how tall she looks next to me. And so it made me feel smaller, Paige.
Oh, that's so exciting. You've actually met your number one, not once, but twice. I haven't even met any of them because, well, some of them are dead. But that's absolutely incredible. And yeah, I have to agree. Paige Saraya Knight, however she's being called now, um, incredible talent, incredible woman. Her style is just absolutely unique, genuine, totally 100% her. How crazy is it that she looks like she's that typical person who looks totally rough and would be not nice to talk to, but seems like just the sweetest person you'd ever want to talk to? That's so incredible. Okay, Astrid, are you ready for my number one?
I'm
Are you
nervous.
ready
Let's
for
see.
it? I surprisingly have not mentioned her a ton for how much she has influenced me, but she has been the one woman besides Sherry who I have seen the most throughout my wrestling viewing, particularly in my younger days, that I remember and that I was entertained by, particularly for the time that she was around. And that woman is the late, great China, otherwise known as I think it's Joni Laurier.
Yeah.
Um, she redefined women's wrestling. She made it okay for people like come on, Melissa, split it out. Beth Phoenix, Natalia, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Camille Brickhouse, like all of these women of power. She gave way for them. She made it, she was a stepping stone for them to be able to have the freedom to be who it is they are now. And look at Rhea Ripley, like, let's be honest, she's pretty much the modern day China, just with short hair. um, unapologetic about herself.
Mhm.
It was a little scary, but also awe-inspiring to watch her go from how you first saw her before all of her surgeries and everything to turn into who it was, to see her go through that transition. And, you know, I feel that she did all of that stuff to kind of play into the societal standards of what at that time she felt she needed to be. But I felt that she did it unapologetically and again with just such a style and grace. Unfortunately, her problems always did seem to overshadow her career, which was very unfortunate because her career was actually really good, specifically when she was with that corporation. And even after the corporation, where she had evolved into that, over the top face to the crowd, where she had the big gun and she would come out and she would shoot it with the sparkles and everything. That was so cool. Do you remember that with the sparkle torpedo gun?
No, I don't remember that, but you made me think of like even describing her. You reminded me. I don't know if you've seen her. Recently, there's been a young woman that has been cosplaying as her for conventions, and the way
Yes.
she does it, she
Spitting
couldn't look
image.
more like her. Holy moly! It took me a
Spitting
moment. I was
image.
like, wait, this is not her. But she could easily say I'm her child because I will not deny it to her because she looks so much like her. And I think it's incredible
Mhm.
because it also made me think of like the women when you see the cosplays, which is another thing that I love. I don't
Mhm.
see anybody really cosplaying as China, and that's one of those like that doesn't get any better than that one because she did so well with it.
Yeah.
I
And
wanted
how
to hit
hard is that body type to cosplay in the first place? Like, she was
right.
a amazing athlete of a woman, and she dwarfed some of the men in the locker room. I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but like X-Pac pretty little. Like that's that's like a child to her. We won't get into the history of that though, because we don't want
No,
to
I
talk
wanted to bring up
about
how that
that.
happened to you though.
Um, what I loved about her though is that she did not have to say anything when she walked into the room. She just had this presence where you knew she walked in. She didn't need to say anything. I preferred her not to say anything just because she wasn't the greatest on mic,
Yeah.
but I did enjoy how she kind of carried herself and portrayed herself. Her matches at the time when she was facing women, I almost felt it was unfair. A former women's champion. Um, Sorry, I was going to come out there on Bobby. Yeah, Luna. I do love Luna. She wasn't an honorable mention for me. um, but yeah, the way she was fighting the women, sometimes I thought it was a little unfair. Just because the size difference, the power difference, even watching like, modern day stardom, we can see the same thing with these powerhouse women fighting these tiny little women. At least the tiny little women in Japan know how to defend against that. The women of the Attitude Era did not know how to defend against that.
Yeah.
Heck, the men she was fighting, she was known for fighting men, the men she was fighting could barely keep up with her at times. The diversity in her ability to be also a model, an athlete, an actress, a spokesperson, I felt made her very marketable for the WWE. And I'm going to just flat out say I'm very disappointed with how they did handle her and her career. I don't think that what happened should have happened. We can't change the past, unfortunately, but I do feel it was a huge, huge detriment, not just to China, but to the company to let her go in the time that they did, because I definitely thought that they could have capitalized on her a lot better. Um, yeah. What do you how do you feel about China there, Astrid?
Yeah. I also wanted to point out this comment because I didn't know about this. Dark Knight to say it made me sad when Jericho put out her wrestling skills when they worked together in an interview I saw recently. I didn't know about the interview, but I guess I don't follow Jericho in that way. So, um, but yeah, it's just pretty sad to think about when like I feel like she done so well and she did so great for women's wrestling, especially at the time
Mm-hmm.
that she was in. Because you know, a lot of people, like I said, don't think about the women's revolution starting when it did.
Mm-hmm.
I I credit Impact for starting it a lot of the time, but I know that there was ladies at China that were speaking up to do stuff like this. And like this,
Mhm.
she was one of the few ladies that was in the men's rumble as well, especially at the time. So it's incredible to see of like the things like it may seem little at the time, but incredible things that she also did. And I feel like
Mhm.
I'm waiting for that moment. And I know there's the Twitter account is campaigning for that as well, for her to get that solo induction to the Hall of Fame, because I feel like her contributions are discredited when she just is listed as a DX member and that's it. And it's like, oh, the excuse is, oh, if you search her name, you're gonna see a lot of things you're not happy about. Yeah, but there's people like Sunny who have the same, like her rap sheet, it's a lot worse than China's, and she's in the Hall of Fame. And and there's other
Mhm.
people, males that have the same situation. They have a terrible rap sheet, but they're in the Hall of Fame. So to me, that's not a good
Mhm.
excuse to not give it to her. I feel like she deserves it, and I feel like it will
Mhm.
highlight women's wrestling in a way. It'll just bring it as a surprise and give it to her. But yeah, I feel like
Mhm.
at the time she was doing what she could with the time with what she had, and she worked really well with it. And like you said, she has such a great presence about herself that I feel her body language spoke for itself, and she didn't have to say anything, which I really liked about
Mhm.
her as well. And I feel like it doesn't happen often when you're intimidated by a woman the way you were with her. Because even I was intimidated. But like you
Mhm.
said, I love her influence on the woman today. People like Rhea Ripley who just see like, and probably people like Raquel who got influenced by her as well, and like in the way that they look right now too. And that's what I love about women's wrestling, just the way that there somebody always identifies with somebody else and they get influenced in that way and it keeps going in that way. And I really love seeing that kind
Mhm.
of snowball effect too. And I love seeing that with the women. She's also one of my like you can't see that, but one of my Funko Pops. I have my women's wrestling there's in there too.
Love
But
it.
yeah, she's one of those that I needed to have, and she's there for that reason too. Because even though I didn't get to watch her like live like other people did, I think the only time that I really watched her live was she was in Impact with Kurt Angle, which is obviously not a great performance to see about her.
Mhm.
But that's one of the only like few like life memories I have for her because I didn't watch wrestling when she was there. But I've seen like the clips of like the ones that we post every now and then, and the things you see on social media, so you're able to see what she was doing, how great she was working at the time. I feel like when she needed help, she didn't get the help she needed, and that's unfortunate. I wish that
Mhm.
would have turned out differently because I feel like it would have turned out differently not only for her as a person but for her career as well. But
Mhm.
I I feel like she's one of those people that she definitely like stuck up to me in women's wrestling, and I wish she had a highlight the way the other girls did.
So, Carl, if you like Bull Nakano, you're going to want to check out Stardom and check out Nane Takahashi and you. They're literally they're literally Bull Nakano and two people, and they are wrecking the tag team division over there right now. But to go back to what you said, Astrid, yes, absolutely, 100%. I 100% agree with you. The thing I think that you mentioned about her presence is her confidence. She walked
Mhm.
in there completely confident. She believed everything she said. She believed everything she did. And again, I think the best word for her is unapologetic. She did not apologize about who she was, how she was. Though sometimes I think I wish she would have. She again may have had a different life turn out if that happened. Um, but I do hope that also that she does end up in a solo kind of thing in the Hall of Fame, because regardless of how Triple H and Stephanie feel about the situation, they can't undo the history that China made within that company any more than they can't undo anything Vince effed up in that company for the last 20 years. So they do have the opportunity to make amends. Let's hope they do it before one of them dies. Um, so, Astrid, this is kind of bringing us to the end. Did you have any honorable mentions that you really wanted to just quickly mention that you didn't want to throw into the list, or that you felt were cut from the list but deserve to be spoken about?
I had to even look at my Funko Pops to like look at the people, and I'm like, okay. Um, Definitely, I know they go. I want to put them hand in hand together because I feel like I like how much they have done for women's wrestling, and those are definitely Naomi and Sasha Banks. I feel like Sasha's one of those people like no matter who she's paired up with, she always steals the show. And even one of my favorite matches has been not only with everything she had with Bailey, but the Iron Woman match. I was there for that one, and I will never forget being there and just feeling how great it felt watching women do this Iron Man match for an hour, and then not only that, but having somebody like Naomi also who's from Orlando as well. in the way she's like Natalia in that way. She's been in WWE for so long, and she's to be one of the foundations for the women right now. And it's just unfortunate that they're not in the roster. I wish they would be, because I feel like they will do so incredible with the girls right now, and I'm hoping they come back because it has so many opportunities to bring them to the fold, to the storylines they have right now, and it'll be so interesting to see. Definitely those two, and I think another one that I liked as well has been Alexa Bliss, not only for my height as well, but I guess she's another one that's pretty nerdy. She's like me, that Disney adult. I think she has gone or almost to almost every Disney park that there is, and I love seeing that in her, how much she enjoys like dressing up as the characters, and even putting her characters in the gear, like her Buzz Lightyear gear was one that I really loved to see. I got to meet her at MegaCon in Orlando recently, well, like a few years ago, and like having her sign like my Funko Pop and to like see her, and I'm like, I love watching you, and it's pretty awesome to like see you in person like this.
No.
But she's pretty cool to see as well. And she's talking to here. We also have Alundra Blaze. Yeah, I love
Good
especially
choice.
now
Good
at
choice.
NXT. So she came up on NXT in the discussions with Michelle Michaels for the Iron
Mm.
Survivor Challenge, and I love how she came up talking about Cora Jade throwing the title in the trash. Like, who would do that? But I love seeing like
Who would
snippets
do
like that
that?
happening now. But yeah, do you have any honorable mentions you got here, my lady?
I love women's wrestling, but someone who's been really influencing me lately is my personal favorite, Utami Hayashi Shida. I've mentioned her a ton of times. 25 years old. I feel that she is probably the modern day female Japanese Bret Hart. This girl to me can do no wrong in ring or out of ring. She can goof it up. She can have that serious match, and she can have everything in between. Another one of my personal favorites is Camille. Camille Brickhouse, NWA champion. Just recently saw an announcement by a local favorite of ours here in Edmonton. Ava Lawless will be fighting Camille in Calgary at
Yes.
some show that I don't know the name of it, but she's going to be in Calgary, so I might have to make a trip just to meet Camille and see that match. Camille is just another young, I think she's only 28, 29.
I think so.
Very beautiful, very powerful women. You're noticing a trend here in the kind of women that I like. I like Natalia. I like, China. I like these women who are powerful, who are strong, but who are also in their own unique ways beautiful. Um,
Mhm.
and the last one, who I did come to like, and who I actually wanted to mention, just because I didn't actually really get to enjoy her career, sadly, until she passed away, and that was Hana Kimura. She was a Stardom girl, incredible talent, incredible strong style, adorable as heck. She looked like a little anime girl with pink hair and like
Mhm.
lights everywhere, just absolutely beautiful soul. Her wrestling was incredible. You can still see her influence today in the Stardom wrestlers. They're always doing shout outs to her. Very much so missing their friend now. But that kind of brings me to the end of my list. This was exciting, Astrid. I had so much fun learning about all of the influences in both of our lives and just hearing about how they've impacted, and influenced our lives going forward, not even just in our personal lives, but in our wrestling enjoyment lives. Do you have anything
Mhm.
else you want to say to our viewers?
Yeah, just like you said, I love how they influence me to like embrace what I like and who I am. I've always struggled with, I like as a Puerto Rican, sometimes you think I don't fit with the Americans, and then you don't fit with the Puerto Ricans, so you always feel like you have that in between because I've been here for so long. But there are those people that have made me like realize like embrace who you are. So it's like if I have shut out that I'm Puerto Rican, I will shout it out. I will, highlight the Puerto Rican female and male wrestlers that I enjoy. People like Damian Priest, another one that I enjoy watching, who's always representing Puerto Rico on a weekly basis. And
Mhm.
I will shout out my
I
food and my
feel
culture and everything I can to like show off and like give a little bit more of my identity. And I feel like that will influence other people to do the same as well. But yeah, overall, that's why I wanted to do a little banner with our numbers, and that way you can see the top people that influence both of
Mhm.
us. But yeah, I feel like it was a fun way to like get to know each other, because I feel like even though we talk about wrestling very often, we still don't talk about
Mhm.
something like this when we talk on a daily basis. So it was pretty
Mhm.
interesting. And not only that, but like Mel was saying earlier, we didn't tell each other this until it happened on air. So we were all
Mhm.
surprising each other on the way as well as we were doing this. But it's pretty exciting to do something like this when we kind of had to hide something from each other in a way.
Exposing it. So I think that is bringing us to the end of our Ladies Wrestling Showcase episode today. Astrid, if the people are wanting to follow you, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on my Twitter, which is like that, Astrid Pizarro, and my Instagram, Astrid Pizarro20. On a weekly basis, you can find me doing Taking Over with Parrish and sometimes Ed on OLE podcasts, local establishments. And then on Thursdays, I do Making an Impact with Cody, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We talk about Impact Wrestling and everything they have going on. We did a show last time, so if you missed it, you can watch it on here on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm on the VOD and just get in a conversation with us about Impact. And if you're in Florida, I'm going to the Florida shows in January for Impact as well. So I'm really excited about that. I was able to get a media pass, so that's exciting. It's the first time they do something like this. So it's a great opportunity to be a part of the show. And ironically, this is exactly after Hard to Kill. So I'll be torn whether it's Jordan as champion or Mickey James as champion. I might die, but I'm really excited for it.
No dying.
Um,
We've discussed this. No dying.
I know. I'm gonna try. I can't make any promises. Okay. But yeah, other than that, you can watch us here. We do this bi-weekly, whether it's live or pre-recorded. And then we have, I think it's a Monday, our replays on Backbreaker Media. I keep forgetting the date. And then Sundays we release the podcast version. So if you want to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform, it could be Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We release that on Sundays, so that way you can on podcast you can enjoy the video. So if you didn't get to watch it live, you can see our pretty faces still on Spotify. Where can the people find you, my lady?
So on Twitter, you can find me at Collins Melball, and on Instagram and Facebook, you can find me at Melball Collins. You can also find my Facebook fan page for my other YouTube, Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk, on there. We post all the time in there, all kinds of weird topics in wrestling to get you guys to chit chat with us. You can catch Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk right now every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday uploading because we have 3 major tag team tournaments happening in Japan, and we got to talk about every single match because there's crazy excitement going on over there. So, that being said, my friend, I think we've come to the end of our show. I'm your Melball. Over there is the beautiful, natural Astrid Pizarro. We will see you next time.
Yeah, and before we go, I'm gonna read over our friends on Twitch. So if you're on Twitch, I'm gonna head you over to Elite POV. So as I say, POV. Yeah, we have my good friend Jackie there. So I'm gonna rate them over in just a moment. So stick with us around. Just follow us on and subscribe to the channel so you can see what we're like next time. But thank you for stopping by, everybody. Have a nice day.